We always love Wednesdays for that very reason. Lucy Greer is here. Good to see you.
You too.
Well,
Thanks.
you are making, it says sirloin steak fajitas. Now, steak is one of my favorite foods, but what kind of added flair are you going to put on this?
Well, we are going to have some spice, so you guys should like it. We are going to make fajitas today with the sirloin steak, and I thought we could kind of get started with our marinade first. So the sirloin steak, of course, we have one right here. This is about 1.5 pounds or so, and the sirloin is kind of the same area that the T-bone's cut from and the porterhouse, and so this part is the top sirloin, which is really great. I like to use for fajitas. You know, a lot of people like to use flank steak or something like that for fajitas, but this is a really inexpensive way to get a lot of meat and something that's really tender and flavorful.
And you can get that at Greer's,
Yes, we have them on sale this week at all of our stores, and like we've been talking about, this is the 3rd week that we've been talking about our sizzling meats of summer.
Yes.
So the first week we talked all about T-bone steaks. The second week we talked all about New York strips, and so this week we're talking about the sirloin. So every one of our stores has people back there in the market that cut all these things fresh each day for our customers, and we're one of the few stores that still cuts meat in-house.
You have butcher staffs there.
Yeah, right there in store. So if you want a specific cut, then all you have to do is go back and ask the guys and gals back there, and they'll cut anything that you like if you don't already see it ready for you in the case. So it's kind of fun. We love summer at Greer's, and we love meat, we love grilling, and we just love family. So, you know, the summer is just a great time for all of those things. So I thought today it would be fun to do some fajitas. So what we're gonna do is just start with 1/2 cup of olive oil.
All right.
And then we'll add our spices first, since we were talking about that. So I have 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, and 1/2 teaspoon of some chipotle chili powder, which I've used a couple times on here. It's right there with all your other spices. If you don't find the chipotle chili powder, you can just use regular chili powder, but it has a really good smokiness. And then also I'm going to add a teaspoon of smoked paprika and 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and also a couple cloves of fresh garlic here. And then I'm going to, we can just stir that up a little, and then we're going to add a little bit of citrus to this. I'm going to use
citrus.
Yeah, so I'm going to use an orange and 2 limes, and I just like the way that it helps the meat tenderize a little bit more, and also of course flavor. So what you want to do, and this is enough marinade for about 1.5 pounds to 3 pounds of meat, so just depending on how many people you're feeding. And what I already have over there is one already ready to go. So,
right here in the bucket.
Yes, right there. So once you get all this ready, you can just let it marinate in the refrigerator for 4 to 6 hours, or overnight if you want to. And then we've talked about the last 2 weeks, before you put your meat to heat, so before you put it on the grill or on your stove top or whatever, you want to let it come to, not room temperature all the way, but let it sit out for 30 minutes, because we don't want to put an ice cold piece of meat onto onto fire.
What, for people who are novices at cooking, what happens if you do that?
Well, going from, you know, super cold to super hot, it's just going to make the meat seize up, and it's not going to be quite as tender for you. So you just want to let it chill out for about 30 minutes, and that's what that one right there is doing. So of course we're inside today, so we'll get that one going, and then once we mix up this marinade, I'm going to reserve just a little bit, so we can put it on our veggies later.
Sounds fantastic. I'm really looking forward to putting this up to finishing this and getting it together. Now, you mentioned that there's a little spice in it. You know, it's hard to describe a spice, you know, for people who aren't actually tasting it, but would you describe it as mild, medium, hot? How would you describe that spice?
I would describe all this as very medium.
Medium spice,
If you tasted it right out of, you know, without it being marinating on the steak, then it does have a little bit of heat, but it's a big piece of meat. And so it's really, once it marinates and once it cooks, it's not going to be too spicy at all. It's just going to have good flavor. But if you are a little bit hesitant, then you can cut back on that chili powder, or just omit the red pepper flakes altogether.
Wonderful. Well, when we come back a little bit later here in the kitchen, not only will we check in with Lucy, we're going to check in on these sirloin steak fajitas. And what's going to be the next step when you're here with Joe?
I'm going to get get this one that's already marinated on the heat, and then we'll cook that, and then we'll get going with our veggies.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna get it going.
I know you can't see it in the bowl, but trust me, it looks good, and you're gonna get a good glimpse of it coming up a little bit later in the hour. Lucy, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Michael.
And we'll put all the info on Greer's on our website, fox10tv.com, under the Studio 10 tab. Joe?
We're definitely sizzling here in the studio.
Sizzling.
This is smelling so good. What am I all smelling here? What do you have on here?
So we are smelling that marinade that we made for our sirloin steak, and we made it right here. We started out with some olive oil, and we added some fresh garlic, some orange juice, and some lime juice, and also some smoked paprika, some crushed red pepper flakes, and also some chipotle chili powder. So it gave it that really pretty color, and also I added a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and I mixed it up in this measuring cup just because it's easy, and I took out about a 1/4 cup of the marinade that hasn't touched any meat yet, because I want to cook it with our peppers and onions later. So what we talked about before was, of course, our sirloin steak, and I had this one already marinating for about 4 to 6 hours. You can do it overnight. And of course, we're inside today, so I just had a skillet here, and I just cooked it for about 3 minutes on each side. And at this point, I'm gonna take it out right here and let it rest. And let's go ahead and throw our peppers and onions in here to the same skillet.
Ooh, so they can soak up some of that flavor too.
Yeah, so I'm using orange and red and a red onion today. Here goes that reserved marinade. And like I said, I'll repeat it, don't use marinade that has touched raw meat. I reserved that so it's safe to use. So we're just gonna cook these down in all of those yummy juices. And again, we're making fajitas, so just, you could do whatever toppings you like. You could put mushrooms in here, you could use green peppers, whatever. I just thought this would be pretty. And of course, you could do this same thing. You could cook your meat on the grill. A lot of people use grill baskets now for veggies and stuff like that. So you could totally do that.
So one of the reasons why it's a great idea right now to be showcasing this is because it is the summer, it is the grilling season, and you really like to promote Greer's options for meat because you think they're so great over there.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And I was telling Michael, we are one of the few stores that still cuts our meat in-house. We have butchers in all of our stores, and our meat is absolutely fantastic. We talked about, in the past couple weeks, our Black Angus. So whenever you're shopping in our meat departments, our Black Angus Select, all of our beef is in these black trays here, and you can just look for these stickers. And we talked a little bit about why we like to sell Select Angus, and there's a couple reasons. Number one, it doesn't have as much fat content in there as a prime or a choice piece of meat, so it's a little bit healthier for you, and also it still has great flavor, great tenderness, and a great value. So it is, you're always going to get the best prices when you shop with us, and so that's why we sell that Select beef, and it is so good. And I always tell people, when they ask, like, what do I do for a steak? My preferred way, because our meat is so delicious, I usually just do salt and pepper. So it's been fun for me the last couple weeks to kind of do something different with beef, because when we eat steak at our house, it's usually just salt and pepper. So Spiro's been thrilled over all the steak that we've been having at our house.
Well,
so,
you hear people say, like, a nice big juicy steak. Take a look at what you've done right here this morning. You can see that is exactly what this thing is. Can't wait to tear into that. And you've gotten this result using the meats from Greer, so that's awesome to showcase.
Yes, so we are going to let this rest for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to thinly slice it for our fajitas, or of course, a lot of people love to make bowls now, so you could do brown rice and make a fajita style bowl, or of course put this on a salad. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this piece in our bowl so it can start to marinate.
All right, sounds good. If you want to know more about this recipe and all of the 7 meats of summer that we're showcasing here with Greer's, you can check out our website, the Studio 10 tab at fox10tv.com. You can also find all the information on Greer's, and you definitely want people to like your Facebook page as well.
Oh yeah, please do. You can like Lucy Greer on Facebook, and also our Greer's Markets has a page too, so follow us. We're actually having a contest right now on Facebook about your favorite meat department team. So go on to Greer's Markets and you can submit to win something.
All right, sounds good. We're going to continue to work on this when we we come back, sizzling steak fajitas. Michael. Michael Jackson song that you do your one dance move to that you showed us back in the day.
Oh shoot! I can't even think of Man in the Mirror.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. That's my favorite one.
That is a great song.
Yeah, and then I go like this.
And then you do that. And then you cook steak.
And I cook steak. Yes. So we made our sirloin steak fajitas today, and we have been letting this one rest. We got it marinated, which here's one right here that we have marinating, and it smells so good. In our olive oil and lime juice and orange juice and our smoked paprika and garlic and chili powder. And we talked about letting that marinate for 4 to 6 hours and then letting it sit on the counter for about 30 minutes before you cook it. So of course we're inside today, so we cooked it over here and then let it rest. And then after we pulled the steak out, we put in all of our peppers and onions and let those go. And so
I've been stealing some.
Hey, you've been stealing some.
Delicious.
And they're so pretty and they're so good. And so now it's time to thinly slice this steak. So when you are going to slice it, sometimes it's hard to see, but I'm sure a lot of people have heard, and you know, when you're doing flank steak and other things, that you want to cut against the grain.
Yes.
So when you look at the meat, you can kind of see pretty good right here. It's all running this a ways.
Okay.
So I'm just going to cut down here because it's a little bit easier to go. But so you just want to cut it, you know, as thin as you'd like it. And of course, cook it to whatever temperature you like. This is about medium.
Those are some real thin cuts.
Yeah, and
good work by you.
Thanks.
You're very talented.
I sharpened my knife before I came, so I'm obviously pretty talented. So whichever, you know,
wow.
doneness that you'd like. So that's about medium. And we did that fun test last week. Remember what we were doing to figure out the doneness of your steak. So a lot of people, you know, don't really have a thermometer at home, and you always see people kind of just doing the finger poke on the grill or wherever to try to figure out how done your steak is. So we talked about a little trick last week. So if you kind of hold your palm loose like this, and right here at your thumb, that is a raw piece of meat. And so then if you do your thumb to your index finger, that's medium rare, and then as you go, medium well, you know, well done. So you can kind of, that can at least gauge you a little bit if you don't have a thermometer at home, or you could always pull it off. It's not done, put it back on. So anyway, so you just want to slice these, and we have some tortillas here. We can make one up, or you can make a bowl. I like to do a brown rice bowl.
Quinoa.
But you could, you know, I really need to get into quinoa. I've done quinoa a couple times, but really not that much. But yes, absolutely. And you could do whatever toppings that you want. Obviously, most people love guacamole, and it'd be really good on here. But Joe can eat this one later, but it turns out really pretty, and this will feed so many people. This was only about 1.5 pounds of meat, and if you cut it thin like me, then you can really feed a lot of people. So we have boneless sirloin steaks, which is what this is, on sale at all of our stores this week. So hit Greers.com to see all the specials that we have. And like we talked about before, this is our 3rd week out of our 7 meats of summer that we're talking about. So if you missed the last couple weeks, just go to Greers.com or the Studio 10 page, and they can catch up on the videos and the different steaks that we talked about. Such great stuff to take a look back at, especially during the grilling season. I'm gonna steal another onion here as we go to break. Lucy, thanks so much for coming in today. Thanks. Can't wait to try that out as well. We'll be right back with more Studio 10 after this.